Welcome back, everybody, for episode 2 of the Jungle Improvement series. Today, we will be talking about the mid game, what you can do in the mid game, what you need to be thinking about in the mid game, and how you can conduct yourself to win more of your games and carry. So, if you don't know me, I'm CEO, Coach Chris, and I operate a company that we are trying to make esports available for everybody up under the sun, whether you're a professional player already, trying to get into the ultra extensive field of esports, or you are a dad with a 9 to 5 and you want to make gaming a career. We are trying to make that possible for everybody. So we host tournaments, coaching, leagues, and way more. So if that entices you and interests you, please check us out on the website, allinonegg.com, or come join us in the Discord and we'll have some talks and get you guys to improvement and become the best that you can be. But with all that being said, we're going to get into what we will be talking about today. So, some of the things that we will be talking about is when is mid game, some of the basics about, mid game, which should be thinking about the objectives that you need to be fighting for at this certain point in time. Big thing that we're going to be talking about next is pressure and resets. And lastly, closing out the game so you don't have to go into late game. So we're going to move over to our map and planner and talk about some of these things. All right, so to start off, what is the mid game? So pretty much the mid game is the conclusion of the early game. This is where you pretty much finish your ganking and your sequenced farming to get a lead to get to right to this point, 14 minutes. Mid game usually lasts from 14 minutes to around 25 to 30 minutes, depending on your situations inside of the game. But I would say 30 minutes is a good ideal time to start the late game, because soul should have been acquired by this point if one team is doing better than the other. So that is our gauge that we use for mid game. So what changes when you're in the mid game? You're not ganking anymore. At this point, your focus must be on map control and rotations, pressuring towers, hitting your core item spikes. This is where people hit their 2 and 3 item spikes, and vision. Vision. So some of your goals here are definitely to take the objectives, extend your gold lead from the early game, and to just apply pressure to the enemy team to make them FF, or just outright take down all the turrets and win the game. So that is the basic understanding of what the mid game is. We're going to move over to our planner. We're going to be talking about the objectives to start off with. All right, guys. Moving on to our junglers talking about objectives. Objectives. You have Smite for a reason at this point in the game. So this is the time where you really shine using your Smite combos and showing just how good of a jungler you are, just hitting that Smite button on that dragon or that icon. So I first want to go off of just basic timers that you should be worrying about. So I'm going to start from top to bottom here. As you see, I put all the timers here that you should be aware of, and if you are not aware of and this is news to you, please leave a comment. I would like to know, to see if anybody does not know these off the bat. But these will be ingrained into your brain as more repetition comes around, and hopefully before the end of the season they don't change the spawn timers. So I would say the big two things, the most important two things in the mid game that you really need to play for is both Otacon and Baron. So I'll get into that later, but firstly, Rift Herald. Rift Herald. People tend to not take Rift Herald down in gold and silver. I feel like they undervalue it, but Rift Herald is a great engage tool for team fights. Great engage tool for taking down turrets. Great engage tool for a lot of things. And you get a nice little recall from it. And that is more important than you ever could like think of in some situations. So Rift Herald is one of your first priorities in mid game to take. It does spawn at 16 minutes. So that gives you 2 minutes after mid game officially starts to set up for this and take it. So if at any point in time that you have the opportunity to take Rift Herald, please do. Next, which can be before or after Rift Herald, is the third Drake. We say third Drake because first Drake spawns at 5 minutes, next one spawns 5 minutes after that. So ideally, the third Drake should spawn 15 minutes-ish. And then after that, depending on if it is taken right off spawn or a little bit after, it should spawn around, that fourth Drake should spawn around that 20-minute time. And if the whole team is stacking Drakes and uncontested, then boom, you get Soul 20 minutes-ish. And Soul is very, very important to closing out the game, which we will talk about in the closing out part. But please, remember these timers for these Drakes. When we get to our next thing, Otacon, there's some situations where Otacon can spawn in the bot lane and you have a Drake up. In my whole time of Season 15 so far, I have never seen enemy team try and contest Otacon and say like, oh, we can't get it, we're just going to take the Drake 2 feet away from Otacon. So I feel like that is a possibility, but personally I have not seen that happen. But Otacon is the objective you want to secure. No matter what form it is, Otacon comes in 2 forms if you do not know. But Otacon is that big gold swing that you want, especially with those rose petals that it drops also. This gives your team just that boost that you need to really start pushing towers and being extra aggressive with your gold lead and closing out the game. So please do not forget, if you need to, type in the chat, Otacon spawns at 20 minutes. Please set up for it. I would say the only thing you need to worry about is you might have to have one person on wave duty, because this is a great opportunity for the enemy team to start taking your turrets while everyone is focused on one side of the map taking Otacon. So that is something as a jungler that you cannot pretty much handle, because you can't control your teammates and tell your laners really what to do. It's really up to them what they want to do. But for you as a jungler, you need to be at that Otacon at 20 minutes, fighting for it, life or death. This is important. So lastly, Baron, 25 minutes. This gives you your pretty much 5-minute window to close out the game. Before Baron, you definitely want to take some inhibs. You don't want to take inhibs at like 20 minutes. Primarily, you want to take inhibs at like 23, 24, 25, when you know that like when Baron comes, you can just take it and capitalize off of it. So these are the objectives that you should be worrying about. Again, 2 big important ones. The ones that matter the most here is Otacon and Baron, and third behind that is the 4th Drake for Soul. So next we're going to move on to the most important part of this video, which is the pressure and resets. All right, moving on to the pressure and reset part of this. So primarily, we're our junglers. We are no longer full clearing our camps as a priority. We are moving with our team. We are playing the laner role when we need to play the laner role, and we are getting up to these towers and hitting them. So I want to put an example of pressure and moving back to resetting here. So here on the map, we have our teams in our standard lane assignments and our junglers in the river just doing river things because we're just junglers. So primarily at this time in the game, usually one tower is down. Sometimes it's very rare where no towers are down. But we are going to say that, let's do this. we'll say the mid tower is gone. Okay? Mid tower is gone. TF is pushed back here. Ahri has the free realm to go wherever she wants as long as she pushes this wave. Your objective here is pretty much to help her secure these turrets and just play up enough so you can secure these turrets. A lot of things that I like to do, a lot of things that I like to think of is I like to be in line with my team, and with mid turret being down here and bot turret and top turret still being up, that line is not very nice for us. This line goes here and kind of makes like a half diamond. So primarily cut. No, I don't want to do that. All right, guys, moving on to the pressure and reset part of this video, which is, I believe, the most important thing. And this is pretty much just going to be a basic guide of what you can be following in many mid-game situations to better help you deny your jungler, better help you move forward to pushing out and winning the game, and to be a bodyguard for your teammates. So here I have a scenario up here on the planner. All turrets are gone from the tier 1 turrets from the enemy team are down. And we see, where did Viego, by the way? Where Viego? We see that our team is pushed up. And as a jungler, this should frighten you. If you are anywhere here, anywhere back here, this should frighten you, because this gives the enemy team easy access to just feast and collapse onto your teammates, because primarily they can be outnumbered due to anybody rotating and cleaning up kills, which I know for a fact you guys have seen it. You have seen it many times. Your top laner's pushing in, you just want to farm. And little do you know, they just want to push in a wave because they have no tier 1 turret and they want to get the tier 2 turret, and they end up dying. And enemy top laner is able to push it in, get tier 1, reset, and continue doing that. So the way you guys want to fix this is when your team is pushed up like this and you are in the mid game like this, you do not want to be back here on your camps. I like to say you want to be in line with the camps. The laners have the assignment of pushing the waves. You also do have the assignment of pushing the wave when, say, your Renekton is coming back from the base and there's a wave that needs to be pushed here because it's pushing into you. You will be a laner for that situation. But for now, we are talking about Renekton, whole team being in lane and wanting to push the map. So What I mean by bodyguard is you want to be the bodyguard of your team, which means you want to be shadowing, shadowing, shadowing. And what I mean by shadowing is while your top laner is pushing into the tower, you want to not take his farm. You can sap some XP here, which is really nice for you. But you want to be sitting in Fog of War, waiting and protecting to see if anybody walks up to try and 2v1 or 3v1 or 3v1 you're Renekton, and you want to be there to protect your teammate. And this results in many free kills, especially if you are ahead. Many factors go into this. If, say, TF is like the most fed on their team and is like 20-1, but everybody else on their team is like 0-1 or 0 and like 11. You want to play with some caution there, but these vary from game to game. But primarily, you want to be shadowing your top laner, shadowing your bot laner as they push. Good thing you could sit in these bushes. And as you're shadowing, you need to be taking these camps. You need to be rinsing these camps. Primarily, you want to be clearing in a way that gets you to the laner that you want to shadow. What I mean by this is if we want to shadow Misfortune here, pushing into the bot lane, we don't want to just sit there in the bush unless we know there's a fight imminent. We want to be over here taking these good old camps. Take the wolves, blue, and Gromp. I like to mess up their sequence here. I usually never take like wolves in the blue and the Gromp. Wolves, Gromp, and the blue because they get like a better sequence off of that. I like to delay them a little bit because that really messes up the enemy jungler. And for us, we get their camps and we're happy. But we want to clear down to our Misfortune. So if someone does collapse on our support and our Misfortune, we are here for that. And with you being here, once your laners are able to push out a wave and can make it to a tower, you can pressure that turret with either just auto-attacking it, hitting it with abilities, things of that nature, or diving because your team is just stronger or you have numbers advantage. So this pretty much allows you to have the best chance of taking turrets. But a lot of times what will happen is you will push this wave up, somebody will come with some crazy wave clear and wipe the wave, and you're like, what do I do now? What do I do now? In this situation, we go back to resetting. Sometimes the laner will definitely want to reset after they've gotten all that gold, but that is an option. You can reset, whole team, or whole side goes back here. Primarily, your whole team wants to reset at the same time, but in solo queue, that usually never happens. So I like to reset in groups when I can. And big thing here, pings. Pings matter a lot. Ping matter a lot. I usually, when we do reset and people are not in line with each other, I do like to ping. I would say ping Ari back saying, please be cautious. Don't die. We're resetting. We're coming back. Or top laner, please don't die. Nobody's on the map. We'll be back. A lot of time they won't listen, as you guys know, to solo queue pain, but sometimes, more often than not, if you ping, use all your pings, they'll listen. They'll listen. So that's one reason you can, or one way you can reset while your laners who just push out the wave are spending their gold. Another thing you can do is cut into the jungle, and if you have not already taken these camps, you can just do it on your way, and now you're shadowing mid lane. Wait for her to do the same thing, push the wave up, see if you can dive, get to tower with your lead or anything like that, and if you can't, back up, do the same thing. We're going to walk over to the top, we're going to take these, and after that, we are going to shadow our top laner. And again, we're just going to try and see if we can get to tower. If they send all 5, well, what do? You just back and reset, or you can cut back, try and pressure another tower, and force somebody to come back and do this. And this really is like very efficient because as a jungler, you are not primarily assigned to a lane, and you have the flexibility to move around and add a body somewhere where they need it. And a lot of this shuffling kind of results in something like this, where you have one person pushing here, you have your support up here, like drawing attention, and they're just having a spotlight on them because they're just pushed up to the turret, and they sometimes forget a little misfortune over here, and you can just cut in and push, 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 and usually they are too invested in fighting up here, so they kind of neglect and don't see you and won't send anybody to back, or they'll send like the one mid laner catching a mid wave to back, and this gives your mid laner the opportunity to walk up and take tower, and you just simply back off. They'll rotate back over here or stay here, and they'll just be in a constant game of catching waves and being like, dang, like I have to be at every wave, every lane at all times. And this makes it easier when somebody on the enemy team like actually dies. Then the shuffling of them is more critical because they can't send 3 people top. They must send at least somebody down to the wave to pretty much catch it so they don't lose the tower. So that is pretty much like how you can pressure. Again, you want to push, cut, take camps, shadow. Push, cut, take camps, shadow. Take turrets, whatever you can do, whatever the map allows you to do, whatever the situation is. But next, we're going to talk about resetting and what you can do with resetting. All right, so here's another scenario that we will start off with talking about resetting. So resetting is very important. This is where the enemy team has had time after your pressure to push back into the waves and to your turret or into your side of the map. So we'll say a wave is like right here, and the wave is like right here, and like right here. So primarily, it's going to take your team some time to push out some waves. So primarily, your team are going to push the waves out. And in this situation, when they're past the mid line of the map, like you should not be too scared about them dying. But a lot of the time, they'll be up here in mid lane, and they'll push this wave out all the way up here past the tier 1 turret, and they don't know what to do. And usually at this point, they'll either split off into the jungle or stay right here, or somebody will look to engage on your team, or your team will look to engage without knowing exactly where the enemy team is. And this kind of results in a multitude of things, a multitude of throws, and you not being here is sometimes the deciding factor of why you lost a game in mid-game. So, going back to becoming a bodyguard, this is how you can prevent this. So, after you have done your pressure, you have taken all the camps that you can take in of the enemy jungle, your camps are going to be up 9 times out of 10. So, what you can do here, we are not going for a full clear unless the pressure coming back to us is large enough to where your laners stay back here in this position. But 9 times out of 10, you will not have that amount of time, and you will need to join your team in a fight and use your lead to carry and assist them in not dying. So, what I like to do is we do a quadrant clear. Quadrant clear is just 3 camps on one side, and we'll just cut into the map. So, let's say, usually it is right here. Let's say, for some reason, 3 people are clearing the mid wave, and again, they push it up. As they're at this point before getting past the middle of the map, you want to be clearing your camps as fast as possible in a very certain way, which is outside in to the middle of the map. So here, definitely would take Grump into blue, into wolves. And you're probably wondering, like, that like throws off my sequence. Like, why would I do Grump before wolves and not go into the blue? It really depends on exactly where they are in the map. If your team is more postured over here, then you can definitely do Gromp wolves into blue or wolves into Gromp into blue and then move over into the river. But if they're sitting in the lane, I like to go outer camp into inner camp, and then I can cut through the mid lane to be able to sit there with them. So I do not want to go full blue side camps into full down here because, as you see, if I'm here and a fight breaks out mid, there's no way I'm making it there. And essentially, your team is 9 times out of 10 always going to take those fights because they have nothing better to do after they push the wave, especially if there is no objective up. They will just fight, fight, fight. So you need to be there to be the bodyguard. And the way you do that is you clear half your camps and you walk up with them until they are pretty much forced to walk back because nothing else is happening. You want to play in fog of war so people don't see you. And when their team engages on them in the mid lane, you are able to be there to win the fight for them and use your lead. So that is pretty much like the basics of, again, what you need to do in a mid game. The basics of just clearing your camps into a fight. To recap, while you're up here, you want to pressure. You want to, after you finish pressuring, come out here, take all the camps that you can, reset, come back on the map, take your 3 camps into a fight. If nothing happens, you either go into their jungle. If the waves are pushed back to you, you come back to your jungle, farm your camps, and you wait for more pressure to be applied. And at this whole time, you are setting up for objectives and all the other goodies that junglers need to get. And in another video, we'll go over objectives and how to play around objectives in another video. But for now, this is pretty much a strategy that you can use. And this strategy actually took me from gold 4 to platinum very easily after I have learned to farm correctly in the mid game and actually be there with my team so they don't int and fight without me, and I'm never able to use my lead because my team is dead. So I hope this was informative for you. We're going to talk about pretty much closing out the game now.
I will be heard. An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. Your team has destroyed a turret. A summoner has disconnected.
Alright guys, closing out the game very quickly. Closing out the game, games usually now last from like 25 minutes to 30 minutes unless you are a rock star and you're making them FF at 15. But closing out the game primarily relies on Baron and Soul. Again, Fourth Drake, 20 minutes. Baron, 25 minutes. You want to secure the Soul as quick as you can. Getting Soul before Baron is like a death sentence for the enemy team. So, pretty much what you want to do is use your gold lead here, win the team fight. We will not be talking about some extra team fight things that could go on and the intricacies of that, which we will talk into another video. But you want to secure this Baron. Baron gives you an absurd buff, especially with Otacon, which you should have secured at this point. That allows you to push into the enemy territory and allow those OP champs with some one ability wave clears to not be able to do that as easily. So, first and foremost, you want to win the Baron fights. Secondly, you want to smite the Baron, obviously, and win the Baron. After the Baron, very important. If you wipe the team, you can just go on ahead depending on how the turrets are down, and your team can either split into here and take some turrets, or you could be the in-game leader and just tell your team to push in. I want an inhib, I want an inhibitor turret, I want something. And again, yeah, if you wipe them all, they'll be in base, they'll be dead. You can do whatever you want, and you need to really do whatever you want when you have the Baron. Obviously, again, games are different at all points in every game, different. But that is one situation. If you wipe the enemy team during the Baron fight, you can push in and easy. Push in, take some turrets, reset, do it again before your Baron ends. Easy, easy. Easy way to close the game. Most often, the thing that would happen is you'll take Baron, the enemy team, they want you. They want you to die. Because they do not want you to recall and get your Baron buff value. So primarily, what you should be doing, obviously if your team does want to fight and you are very confident that you can win the fight, please do win it. But primarily, we want to back up, reset, let them have everything, jungle camps and all. If you have jungle camps up, let them have them, because you are about to let them have it with this Baron. So, objective here after that is reset. Please spend your gold. Please get an elixir. Get as strong as possible, because you will be out for a long, extended period of time and trying to use your Baron at its fullest. So, after you reset, you have a gold lead, and this is where you really want to start pushing, pushing, pushing. And with cannon minions and siege minions, a lot of the time, if this turret is standing here and you are strong enough and have, say the Ranger and your Ahri, you can just sit here. Let the cannon minions beat down the turret while your team over here beats down these turrets to get in line with here. And if your team needs a little bit extra help, this is where you simply rotate back and forth, rotate back and forth. Just make sure everybody's good, giving everybody a salute and being a bodyguard, and adding that Baron buff and adding that extra body. Primarily, we're not here going back taking camps or anything like that. We're up here using the Baron buff, trying to get a pick, trying to get the turrets, so we can eventually get up here and win the game, emote at them, and do all the other good stuff. And that's primarily the Baron play, the two plays that you can have after Baron. Hopefully at this point you have Soul, and it makes the game easier. And just be very disciplined on your time with the Baron, because it is very limited. So use it wisely. You're stronger while you have Baron too, so fights should go easier and better in your fortune. So other than that, that will be the end of the video. I hope that you learned something, got an idea of how to play in the mid game if you were lost and didn't know what to do in the mid game. This is some good feedback and good, interesting things that you can put into your next game that you're going to be playing, hopefully right after this. Hop on the Rift and start dominating. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you would like some coaching, if you would like to join us in some tournaments and leagues, please come join us in the Discord, all-in-one-gaming-generation.com. And I will see you guys in a Rift in the lobby and improving. Wish you guys the best, and see you in the next video, which we will be talking about the late game, and that will be our final video on the Jungle Improvement series for this month. So, adios, enjoy, see you guys in the next video.